Why did I decide to drop out of college even after having a full ride for all the years that I was going to be in school? Fun fact, actually after my first semester, I had a refund check with extra money left over from how much scholarship money I had to go to school, and I still decided to drop out, and it was still the best decision I personally ever made. I know this video is a little bit different than the last videos that I've been doing, but I figured, you know, for me it was an experience that I went through that was, you know, really game changer for me personally, and the way I learn and, you know, self-educate. And I thought it's something that for some of you guys, you might get value from, since some of you guys might be just about to start school, maybe be in school currently, and maybe just you know, may have just graduated from school. So I figured I'd share some of that experience with you guys. But if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be sharing a lot more experiences that I've personally been through with you guys, and also sharing a lot more business strategies as always. But to kind of jump into it, a little bit of background about me. I honestly have always been a terrible student ever since, you know, I was younger. In freshman year in high school, probably the highest grade I ever got was like a B, and it's crazy because now that I think about it, that's absolutely insane. What was I doing? I can actually tell you guys what I was doing. I was just going to school just to hang out with friends, be the class clown, and really just to have a good time. I didn't really understand the need to why I needed the education, the power behind it. What really changed the game for me was one of the teachers that I had actually in college. His name is Mr. Summers. Mr. Summers, if you're watching this, thank you so much. Mr. Summers actually would tell us these stories about how, you know, him growing up, he was raised with a single mom, and, you know, they were barely able to make ends meet, and just the situation that they were in. He had siblings, and, you know, they didn't really have much of an upbringing. And for me personally, some of you guys that may already know me, I actually grew up in that same circumstance. So I was able to instantly connect with Mr. Summers. Connecting with him was powerful because I was able to learn where he came from, and then able to see his present, where, you know, where he was at now at that time. You know, a successful teacher. He had his own business on the side. He had a painting business. He had these cool cars. Some of you guys that already may know me, you know, I'm a huge fan of cars. He had an Infiniti at the time, and also had this sick Corvette. You know, I figured if I can do the same as Mr. Summers did, maybe I can get a Corvette for myself, or maybe I can get a nice car and, you know, live in a nice place and things like that. So he really inspired me, and now that I actually think about it, he was one of my first mentors, and I didn't understand the power behind having mentors at the time. Having him as my first mentor really changed the game for me, because after having, you know, him be my mentor, literally the next year after, sophomore year, immediately, you know, started to really get focused on, you know, personal growth. I mean, even though at the time all I was doing is, you know, really focusing in on school, I figured that as my way out to really become successful. So, you know, I decided to commit. For some of you guys that may know me, I also have an addictive personality. So when I find something that I want to do and I like and I really want to get done, you know, I commit all the way. And so I did that. I committed, and, you know, long story short, I ended up graduating with a 3.7 GPA. I started getting good grades right after that. And, you know, that's honestly what I thought was going to be my path, to go to school, you know, obviously follow the system that was already in place. But actually after I graduated, I had a full ride to go to school. I went to school here in Boston. I actually went to UMass Boston here. And then from there, once I got started my first semester, I went to school for electrical engineering. You know, I figured I'd go after an education or career path that obviously made a lot of money, and that I somewhat thought was interesting. So at the time, I did think that, you know, I was thinking the whole time that electrical engineering was pretty cool, and obviously the money was good, so I figured I'd go to school for that. You know, shortly after my first semester, after seeing the plan of the classes that I was supposed to be taking for the, you know, the rest of the time that I was going to be in college, I wasn't too pumped to be an electrical engineering major, because I was going to have to take a lot of math. I like math personally, but I didn't like how much math I was gonna have to take. So I personally, once I saw that, I was already thinking about, you know, switching majors and career paths. And that's actually when I decided to switch to potentially do business. I've always had somewhat of a passion, you know, of business. I've always been somewhat of a, you know, small-time entrepreneur. I used to buy and flip cell phones, buying them on Craigslist and reselling them. I used to do that on the side. So that was like my first, I would say, kind of entrepreneurship journey. Even though it wasn't too much, it was just buying and flipping phones, but that's how I started. And from there, I've always had a passion for business. So after being in school, I quickly realized, like, you know, I'm not really interested in engineering. I wanted to actually go to school for business and switch majors, but I quickly found out that my school actually didn't even offer majoring in business or any business classes. So for me, I was gonna have to transfer. I was planning on actually transferring my second semester in school, but what ended up happening is, after my first semester in school, I had just really found out, you know, around this time of the year, actually winter break, Depending on what time you guys may be watching this video, it's winter right now, and this is actually when I'm recording the video. But around winter break, right before we had the vacation, I just found out about mentors, just found out about the power behind reading books, business conferences, and business courses that you can potentially take online. The semester that I actually had off around this time, winter break, I decided to dive deep into all those resources, right? So I started first finding mentors online, successful business owners that obviously had business experience. I went to my first business conference throughout that time frame, and I started reading more books, and I actually invested into a few different online courses and programs. And that month that I was actually out of school, I ended up learning more than I had learned the last 4 months that I was in school. So for me, I was like, this makes all the sense. I'm just gonna double down on this and obviously learn more in a short amount of time. And that's actually what I decided to do. And, ever since then, I've been constantly taking advantage of all the resources when it comes to consistently finding mentors, business courses, seminars and books. And those are actually the main resources that I've been learning from. And those resources have honestly took me a long way. Obviously, I'm not anything like crazy successful at the time, but I think that because of these resources that I took advantage of, I'm way ahead of what the education that I would have gotten if I would have stayed in school. So for me personally, this was the best decision I've ever made. And this is something that, for me, works really well for me, because I wasn't a fan of having to always consistently learn about things that I didn't want to learn about. I didn't see the value in learning, taking art class or acting class as an elective just because I needed the credits for it. Throughout my whole time that I was in school, I had probably only finished 2 books cover to cover. Obviously, there's no actual need to read, books cover to cover. People have different opinions on those, but it's crazy that without that many years, I've only read 2 whole books. And actually, the time that I've been out of school, I've read more personal development books like these. I've read a lot more actually from cover to cover. So it's crazy to me that obviously now that I've found things that I'm more interested in learning, I've actually committed a lot to learn a lot more, and more interested in doing things like reading, something that I wasn't into doing before. And there's a huge power behind reading itself, and obviously learning and self-educating. But some of the most successful people in the world spend a lot of time reading. So the fact that when I was going to school, I had no interest in reading, is completely insane to me personally. So there's definitely something like wrong, let's say, with the the system that we're brought up in, because nobody should not be a huge fan of reading just because obviously they're being forced to read things they don't want to. So after dropping out of school, again, that was the best decision I ever made. I'm consistently learning from mentors. Like I said, that's been my huge one of the biggest impacts on me. And the reason why is because it makes a lot more sense, right? I'm not to take shots against professors or teachers or anything like that, but I couldn't wrap my head around personally learning from a professor who potentially didn't even have the business experience of starting their own business, running a business, or anything like that. I couldn't wrap my head around that. So for me personally, I wanted to find and learn from people that already had experience in the business world, had already started a business, potentially had already had experience running a business, and had somewhat of actual hands-on experience, and obviously had some results to show for it. So for me personally, that's what I couldn't wrap my head around, and that's why I was attracted quickly to mentors, of finding successful business people, or just successful people overall that I could learn from. And again, this isn't something that can work for everyone, because again, like, let's say you want to be a surgeon, you want to learn how to be a surgeon, you find a surgeon mentor, let's say, you can't just go and practice the surgery on someone. Nobody's going to let you practice surgery on them. So obviously, for different career paths, obviously it's not something you can do for like accountants, lawyers, doctors, police officers, things like that. Probably isn't the best option to go and try to learn from outside resources. But for business specifically, for anyone that's an inspiring entrepreneur, wants to start their own business, and there are a few different fields, I'd recommend, for sure, not recommend, but I'd say for sure you get much more value and benefit learning from outside resources than you would in school. And that's just coming from my experience and some of the experience from other mentors. There's a lot of successful business people that have dropped out of school, and that has worked for them very well. Some of you guys may know, Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of Harvard, Bill Gates, a lot of people, successful entrepreneurs that you guys see now, a lot of them dropped out of school. So it's not something that like people do because it's like a cool thing to do, but it's something that there is a power behind it in learning from other resources. The way that obviously we work is we like to learn from, you know, people that have results, right? So it's a lot harder to learn from someone that doesn't compared to learning from someone that does. So that's something that I found works really well for me and my learning style. Some of you guys may be able to relate and may be able to learn the same way, so I figured, you know, I'd share that with you guys. Some of you guys can try it out. Yeah, I thought it would be pretty powerful for me to share with you guys, you know, my experience as to why I dropped out. For me personally, now that I have friends that, you know, have also dropped out, I have friends in school and friends that have graduated, and you know, I get to talk to all you know, people in all different situations. You know, I know a lot of people that have gone to school and they end up not even working in the major or, you know, in the area of a field that they went to school to learn about. So after seeing things like that, that's what made me want to drop out and take the risk. But again, it's not for everyone. But I hope you guys got value from this video. I thought I'd share that with you guys. Again, I'm going to share a lot more experience videos just like this of things that I have done and had experience with and background with, and also share some more cutting edge strategies. So if you got value from this video, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment below. What are your thoughts on college? It is somewhat of a controversial topic, but I'm always interested to see what other people have to say. And for sure, make sure you hit that subscribe button, join the family. I'm going to be dropping a lot more videos, a lot more consistently now. So appreciate you guys coming on here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.